Hi everyone, and welcome back. Now today I'm introducing to you the second foundation stone for good health, which is nutrition. And here comes some more great sound science. Now, every creature on the planet exists and functions by chemical reactions. That's right, chemical reactions. Now, some bright spark scientists worked out that in the human body there are actually 2 billion chemical reactions happening inside us every second in order for us to function. Phew. Now, where do the chemicals come from for those reactions? Very simply, they come from the plants and animals which we eat. And get this, from a special relationship each of us has with special gut bacteria which live inside our gut. Yeah, and there's no other way. Now, food is made up from chemicals, and our body functions only because of a specific chemical recipe, which creates specific chemical reactions. Like any recipe, if there are ingredients missing, faulty or excessive, in this case the human body can malfunction, or it functions below its potential, and at worst, it can stop and we die. Now, unfortunately, because much of our diet is now made up of yummy processed, high sugar, low fibre and grain flour convenience foods, where, as a natural result of the manufacturing process, most of the real nutrition and therefore vital chemicals has been destroyed or stripped away. Therefore, on record, many of us humans are actually deficient in specific chemicals in our day-to-day life. And often it means we are operating well below our potential and having to tolerate ongoing illnesses. Now, at times, it may not even feel comfortable, but it feels so normal that we accept it as just the way it is. And for specific reasons, those deficiencies become more predictable as we pass 60 years old. And we can become toxic in specific chemicals. For example, heavy metals, manufactured chemicals of all sorts, and a common one is alcohol. But for now, let's just consider the food we eat and specifically the toxic effect of high concentrations of grain flour and sweetie sugars that daily tempt our palate, which all convert inside our body into the biggest threat to our life, which is glucose. Yeah. And in short time, we are unknowingly putting our body into a glucose toxic state. And a long-term toxic glucose state will unknowingly lead us into every known metabolic disease available. Now, what metabolic diseases are they? Well, get this. The big four are heart and arterial issues, cancers, type 2 diabetes, and dementia. Yeah. Now, the studies are very conclusive. You see, for millions of years, the ancient world produced very small amounts of natural glucose, and it's the same today in the natural world. There is a small amount in grasses and other plants, fruit in the autumn season, and if you are really lucky, the odd wild honeybee hive or honey ant nest. So over millions of years of evolution, us humans have evolved to require only about 4 grams or a level teaspoon of sugar per day, specifically as the converted chemical, which is called glucose. Now, interestingly, glucose is not an essential requirement. You get essential enzymes, essential vitamins, and essential fatty acids in all life forms, but no essential glucose. In fact, historically, because of its short supply, us humans evolved 4 different ways to get our energy needs met as well, not just from glucose. Now, more on that later. But that all changed about 2,000 years ago when a clever person discovered how to create sugar from plants and process it into a white grain form that meant they could bag it and transport it and trade it. And it was called white gold for a reason. For centuries, it has been extremely expensive stuff to buy. But nowadays, sugar is so plentiful and so cheap and so yummy that it's in nearly everything we eat. Good marketing for sure, isn't it? In fact, in today's world, the average diet includes a minimum of around 18 teaspoons of additional sugar per day. And we love to eat it because most of us are addicted to it. Now, who would have guessed? Certainly not me. Gee whiz. And the advertisers, they know this and they use it to their advantage. And that brings up a reminder from our earlier video about why we should choose science over any industry. So contrary to popular advertising, the primary objective of any industry is to sell product. It is not to keep any nation, the population or individuals healthy. In fact, the unhealthier a population is, the more product can be sold. So international studies over the past 50 years clearly confirm that the chemicals we ingest, which makes up the food we eat, is so powerful that it has been shown to have a more powerful effect, positive and negative, than many modern pharmaceutical drugs that are taken for the same reasons. Even a study from our researchers at our own world-famous Canterbury University confirms this. But there's more. It's also been discovered that when we are feeding ourselves, we are also feeding the important bacteria in our gut, who rely on us to feed them the correct foods to be alive. Now, the byproducts of these specific gut bacteria are involved in creating, among other things, the hormones which are responsible for keeping our mental and emotional state in balance and giving us a positive, happy sense of well-being. Others protect and manage our immune system, who would have guessed, while others protect our gut lining and others break food down into atomic-sized particles which can be absorbed into our blood system. But there are thousands of more examples, and that is why gut bacteria are considered another vital foundation stone for good health in all humans. But more on that later as well. Now, feed these bacteria the wrong food and very quickly we not only kill them off, like feeding steak to a budgie and expecting it to thrive, but now they are missing from our body with predictable negative results. For example, first, we can experience any or many of the common physical health ailments, as we've listed in an earlier video, that we commonly present to our GP for treatment, that are all stress-related. If nothing changes then over time, that can lead us into gloom and doom, self-doubt, and a highly sensitized nervous system. And down the line, levels of anxiety and depression and potentially every other mental and emotional issue on the planet. The science says they are all connected, along with gut injury, commonly called IBS, and 99% of all metabolic diseases, which includes those heart, arterial issues, cancers and dementias we mentioned earlier. And yes, it's very predictable and scientifically very well proven. But to make it worse, as if it could be, by not feeding our good bacteria the correct nutrition, we kill them off and invite the wrong and even downright dangerous bacteria to thrive because they love those conditions, which further leads to poor health at every level in our body and ultimately can even lead to a human dying. Now, here's one example of how chemicals from the food we eat can affect our whole outlook on life. Hormones in our body are made from chemicals. Okay, we got that. It is the chemicals from the food we eat which feeds the correct bacteria, which produces specific hormones along with other hormones that our body produces. Now, these hormones create our emotions, happy or sad. Emotions result in the thoughts and feelings we have, happy or sad thoughts, which again requires specific chemicals to make them, which results in the emotions we experience, happy or sad, which requires chemicals to make them, which results in the thoughts we think, happy or sad, and around it goes like a Ferris wheel. All of these thoughts, feelings, and emotions are created by our body and specific bacteria from the chemicals that we eat and they produce. Now, if we are deficient in the correct chemicals by eating the wrong types of food, we and our specific gut bacteria will be harmed, and our emotions and thoughts can be very negative and down. Over time, the more nutritionally deficient we are, the worse off our gut bacteria is, the more stress we will experience via our stress response being activated, which further guarantees poor sleep, poor food choices, and over time we will experience levels of mental and emotional imbalance. Why? Because they are all connected, just as mental and emotional balance is also a foundation stone for good health in all humans. Now, ironically, it happens because our whole body at a cellular level is trying hard to readjust to existing in this stressful state it finds itself in until the perceived danger has passed. Yep, it's that automatic reaction of our ancient stress response yet again. And this goes for all age groups. Now, the good news is that it has been found that positive change can happen within hours. Absolutely, hours, simply by us eating the right food which contains the right chemicals and not eating the wrong food. Now, how simple can that be? If only we knew, eh? And science has known about this for several decades, and the studies are very conclusive. Okay, enough for today. That was great. Nice job, everyone. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.